Good morning and happy Saturday, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning?
Woohoo! Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Fabulous. Doing great.
Oh, all right. Well, we've got a lot lined up here. We had last week off. A number of us were at a conference down in the Atlanta area and learning just a ton of stuff. And so maybe some of that will play out into our segment today. We've got Kathy that's going to do a segment on James Clear. You know, James Clear is the author of the iconic book, Atomic Habits, big part of the HealthPointe program for sure. So she's going to do a bit of a segment on that. I'm going to do possibly two segments. For those that tuned into our last session, there was a segment that I was going to be covering that was involving Dr. Andrew Huberman and Dr. Robert Lustig on just the chemicals in our body that can affect weight loss and how we behave and stuff like that. And I'm going to try to pick up on that a little bit. But between last session and this session, we have had a drop the mic moment, at least for me, I'll say that, something I've been waiting for no less than 2 years to happen. And that is this little baby here.
Woo-hoo!
What is this? This, my friends, is a continuous glucose meter, super valuable. But what was the rub forever and ever until about 2 weeks ago? You needed a stinking prescription for these. This is no prescription continuous glucose meter. So we're going to kind of break that down and its value a bit. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's get rolling. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Kathy. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, everybody. I am doing great. It is Super Saturday. I have coined it that today. So everybody just knows today's Super Saturday. So keep that in mind, especially if something doesn't go so super. So yes, just real briefly, I haven't given an update in a while as to where I'm at in my consecutive step journey. But today is 2 years and 172 days. So we're getting closer to the 2.5 year mark. So, and just as quick, brief background, I've been doing this for almost 2.5 years. Started HealthPointe back in 2018, was pre-diabetic, did not want to go down that route, did not have to want to worry about monitoring my glucose. Great idea to be able to monitor it, but didn't want to have to worry about it. So I found HealthPointe 58 pounds later in about just about six months, I believe it was. And I've kept it off the whole time. And I will be honest, I did not do 10,000 steps every day. That was the goal every day, as it is the goal. But I would say probably the whole time I was in the weight loss program, I probably did between 6,000 to 7,000 a day. Occasionally I did get up to 10,000. But I know I definitely got at least 5,000, because if you don't get 5,000, you're really not going to see any true results to really make a big difference. So with that being said, I started focusing on the 10,000 to see if I could do it for a year. And here we are almost 2.5 years later, because it is now who I am. And I owe a lot of it to the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. We were introduced to that book, believe it was actually in 2020, and which was a perfect time to be introduced to something that you could take a little bit of time to really delve into. And you have to have the book. I'm just going to say that. If you don't have the book, get it now. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. You can easily find it on Amazon or pretty much anywhere. And the book really will change your life if you let it. If you buy it and it sits on the shelf, not going to happen. But if you actually open it up and read it and apply the principles that he presents, it really truly can change your life in any way, whether it's health, whether it's finances, whether it's relationships, just anything. It's an ultimate awesome book. And in the end of the book, once you read the book, there's a place in there where he has an email thing where you can subscribe to his weekly emails. And he always puts little quotes from different people. One's from him and then one's from other people. And it's all about overall success in life and all different gamuts. And they're very, very, very helpful a lot of times, I will say. And the one that I got this week just really hit like a ton of bricks. And I was like, ooh, I have to share that with everybody in case people don't subscribe to his emails. So I do apologize. I'm going to read it though. And like I said, he gives different quotes from different people. And this was from theologian and philosopher Soren Kierkegaard on the power of walking. Above all, do not lose your desire to walk. Every day, I walk myself into a state of well-being and walk away from every illness. I have walked myself into my best thoughts, and I know of no thought so burdensome that one cannot walk away from it. Even if one were to walk for one's health and it were constantly one station ahead, I would still say walk. Besides, it is also apparent that in walking, one constantly gets as close to well-being as possible, even if one does not quite reach it, but by sitting still, and the more one sits still, the closer one comes to feeling ill. Health and salvation can be found only in motion. If one just keeps up on walking, everything will be all right. So walking is a key component to our HealthPointe program. It's not everything, but it is a key component. And, you know, so many people, when they think, you know, oh, I got to lose weight, I got to diet, the first thing they say is, okay, I'm not going to eat anything and I'm going to go to the gym. Okay, wrong. Not eating anything, as we all know, is not key. It's eating the right food in the right amounts at the right times. And no, you don't have to become an Arnold Schwarzenegger to lose weight. You can just literally walk, just like we're all doing. So I just wanted to share that. And I hope that everybody else will find that as helpful and beneficial. I can always send the screenshot out if, you know, you'd like to post it or whatever. But that's my little talk for Super Saturday.
I love it. I love it. And I wrote down a little tag phrase that was in what you were covering there. It says, sitting still equals getting ill. I like that.
Yeah.
So really, really great stuff. Anybody else have any comments on that? I know most of us have read, and maybe read multiple times, the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits. Again, just an iconic book, as Kathy mentioned, not just relevant to getting healthy, although I think a lot of the components and kind of the theme in the book is about that. But you know, it's really great for, you know, so many areas of life and understanding habits and you know, the concept of, well, I won't regurgitate the book, but it's just an awesome book. So any other thoughts on Atomic Habits and Kathy's commentary?
You know, listening to Kathy makes me realize that I believe on our HealthPointe nights, and when I talk to HealthPointe clients, I'm going to start making that part of a package. Now, they'll have to go on Amazon and order it, but I think if we can get them reading that book at the get-go, we've always been proponents of it, all of us. But I wonder how many times we kind of drop the ball after we get someone started. And your Atomic Habits, like you said, Eric and Kathy both, is all about life. And one of the key components in our HealthPointe program is detoxing the mind. And I can't think of a better way to do that than by reading segments of that book and then interjecting it into your life. And I also am on that email, and I love his stuff because it's 3-2-1. It's very quick, but very poignant. It gets right to the point. And I do believe walking, I've walked since my boys were little, and it's just, you know, they say whatever exercise you do, make sure it's one that you'll stick to. I think walking is one of the easiest ones to stick to because you can do it in all elements. I mean, all of you up north certainly have walked in all climates.
You can do it in ER
situations.
waiting rooms. You can do it in hospital
Anywhere.
hallways.
That's right. That's right. You're a
As
great
I've proven
example
in
of
the
that.
past 6 months.
Yeah.
You can do it on
Yeah.
you can do it on tarmacs. I'll tell you
Oh,
that
yeah.
we have a gentleman that is really tracking well. He's he's in Texas, but he's retired pilot, and then immediately went through some training, became a corporate pilot. And he was the kind that would like do occasional heavy workouts. And of course, in HealthPointe, we're talking about a sustainable lifestyle of movement, aka walking. And so we were kind of working on that to try to string together some more consistent days of 10,000 steps or more. And he's not a morning person, so he knew he had to get into a solution mode for figuring this out. And he's, sometimes his client says, hey, we need to fly to Utah, we need to fly there. So it's kind of an irregular schedule. So evenings are it. And boy, he's been clocking in numerous days in a row now of 10,000 steps and above. In fact, a 7-day average now has finally creeped above 10,000. And then he's working on getting that 30-day average above. But where most of his steps are? Where he works. He's a pilot. Where are most of his steps? On a wet tarmac is what he always says. So it's so fun. But it just shows, you build that atomic habits mindset and you go to work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too. And I'll just share this with you guys because it just occurred to me. But when we go to conferences and we are sitting for long periods of time, if anybody knows me, I don't sit very long. And so you're sitting in the airplane, you're sitting at the terminal, waiting for the plane, you're sitting in the cab or lift of some sort to take you over to the hotel, then you're sitting in conferences, you're sitting to eat. So you're doing a lot of sitting. And I notice immediately, and it's conferences always, that my electrolytes in my system go haywire and I get leg cramping. And I thought, why does this always happen in a hotel room? And then I figured, well, let's consider the elements here. And sure enough, it's always when I'm at a conference sitting for long periods of time. So you absolutely have to get up and move around. Your body will crave it. And if you don't do it, it's going to squeal at you until you do it. So that's my personal testimonial on walking.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting that you mentioned that and kind of unpack that further, Carol, because I can remember quite a while ago, I don't know, maybe about a year ago, somehow, I think it was maybe somebody I was working with and asking about electrolytes and cramping and stuff. And all I remember in your answer to me was you were talking about sometimes at conferences and electrolytes. So it's interesting to hear you further that and kind of link it to the walking portion of things. That makes sense.
Yeah, it sure does. And I'll tell you, the more you do it, the more your body will squawk when they don't. The more good habits you get into, your body will squawk if you don't keep up those good habits. After a while, they're happy. They like that. And they want those habits. So we better listen to our bodies as we create good habits, because that will be a huge accountability. Just your own body you'll have to be accountable to.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of going on a rabbit trail here, but Dave and Chris, I don't know where you guys are walking, but I'm fascinated by your background. So that's a gorgeous pond, lake, something. Where the heck are you guys at? That's gorgeous. Speaking of walking.
Chris and I are extremely grateful. We live in a beautiful compound, and so we're walking the grounds of where we live.
Wow. I think I found a new place I want to go walk every day. Is I'm going to come knock on your door, or at least pop into your neighborhood.
Well, and actually people from other neighborhoods come to my neighborhood to like run and walk and do things. And so it's very green. I'm grateful. But since you jumped me on, I'll just say, I've been doing walking in HealthPointe for several years now. And every morning it's mind over matter for me. I mean, I wake up and the last thing I want to do is walk, and I might tell my body, okay, I know you don't want to, but now we're going to get up, put your clothes on. And so it's the first thing I do. And I know Carol talks about doing 5,000 steps in the morning. For me, it's just the doing it. It doesn't, sometimes when I go out with Chris, I'll say, I'm only doing a little bit, but I'll be out. And then I'll say, okay, I'll go around the pond too, you know? And so, so I usually do like 2,500 to 3,000 steps in the morning, but it's mind over matter. And the other mind over matter for me in the early morning is that I know when I walk in the morning, I'm burning fat off my body. When I eat my breakfast and then walk, I'm burning fuel.
That's a huge point. There's sometimes a question, why is it in the HealthPointe? If you read the daily messages, if you actually go through the HealthPointe, literature, the app, the PDF, there's an emphasis. And certainly if you listen to the Australians and Ben Physick, there's an emphasis on getting these steps in before breakfast. And so let me just kind of break that down a little bit of the excellent point that Dave is mentioning. And that is, particularly if you're on HealthPointe, you're eating clean, and so you go to bed, and during the night, our body is going to, need some fuel, and that's in the form of stored fuel, and it will typically be in our short-term reserves. We call that glycogen. Much of it is stored in the liver, okay? So when you wake up, if you go for and do some walking, because you're already in a glycogen deficit, let's just say hypothetically that your liver has kind of burned up your glycogen, your short-term reserves of fuel, then it's going to go to your long-term stores of fuel, which is your adipose fat, your adipose, your fat around your body and your belly and your butt and your thighs and so forth. It's going to be forced in a way to go burn that fuel because there is no fuel in the short-term reserves in your liver. But like Dave said, if instead you get up and you eat breakfast and then you go walk, your body is going to be burning that fuel as opposed to burning the fat. So that's why you can have kind of better results if you're doing 5,000 steps or some number of steps before breakfast. So great point, Dave. Really great point. All right. And again, what a beautiful spot. You might have a stalker on your hand. I might be rooting you guys out. Be finding out where you are at. So, okay, well, listen, I'm going to, I guess, go ahead and hop into my segment. And I mentioned that there's kind of two segments, and they're obviously very, very related. All these topics are very, very related to each other. But I'm going to lead with the topic that I wasn't able to cover 2 weeks ago. And anybody that's not speaking, if you want to mute, but that was kind of the premise that, we look at, some of these efforts at these atomic habits at the HealthPointe program and look at, are there some biochemical factors very much, and the way I framed it last time, like addictions, right? So if your body is kind of working against you, it means well, but the body can get kind of tripped up and work against you and be infusing your body and your mind with these chemicals that kind of keep you in an addictive state, right? Most people in one form or another can relate, or they've read stories, or they know maybe they personally know it. They know about the issues of addictions and how that can really get a grip on someone's life. And when we look at trying to get healthy, certainly trying to lose weight, what's interesting is there can be some similar factors. And this comes from a fantastic discussion / interview between Dr. Robert Lustig and Dr. Andrew Huberman. And I've spoken about them extensively, but if you're not familiar with them, certainly look them up. They're both icons in this space. Well, I'll just say that Dr. Robert Lustig is one of the leading endocrinologists in the world, and just a real wealth of information, is quite prolific on interviews on YouTube and stuff like that. And then Dr. Andrew Huberman is a neuroscientist. So, this guy's going to know the brain, and he really breaks down topics really well and does some really great interviews. So, so what I want to focus on, and I don't know, I don't want to pose the question openly here because I want to move along, but, if I was to pose a question, if I was to talk about a chemical called leptin, would people know what I'm talking about? Okay. Because it turns out that this is a very, very powerful chemical, as most hormones are, in terms of how it makes us feel, how it shapes our behaviors. And so you can imagine if I was to inject your body, if you're going to inject your body with, different chemicals, that would change your state, how difficult, or by contrast, how easy it could be to do certain behaviors based on whether that chemical is in your body or firing in the optimal way. So let me turn and kind of go through that segment, because it leads us ultimately to the other segment, and why I'm so excited about this Stelo Continuous Glucose Meter as well. So let's lay this out. So our brain plays a significant role in how our body manages weight, especially when carrying excess fat for a long time. Over time, the brain rewires itself, adapting to this excess fat and making it harder to lose weight. One of the main players in this process is leptin, which is a hormone. And let me just kind of briefly help us understand what a hormone is. I mean, just kind of unpack that briefly. Hormones are chemical messengers produced by glands in the endocrine system. They travel through the bloodstream to specific organs or tissues where they signal those parts of the body to perform certain functions. Okay, so they're powerful. We sometimes, kind of quip about hormones. If you see somebody in their teenage years, their hormones are raging. Okay, or another segment in lives, in women's lives, if say through menopause, or there can be many changes in hormones that affect the physiological as well as the psychological stage, but hot flashes, etc. So those are very powerful chemicals that signal tissues and organs. Okay, so let's understand that. Okay, so with that, one of the main players in this process is leptin, a hormone produced by fat cells that tells the brain you've had enough to eat. When you're leptin sensitive, your body knows when to stop eating and start burning fat. But when you develop leptin resistance, your brain no longer receives that message. Instead, it believes you're starving, which leads to constant hunger and reduced activity to conserve energy. Leptin resistance is largely driven by insulin. And here's where we'll dig a little bit deeper. Insulin inhibits leptin in 3 critical areas of the brain: the IRS2 pathway, the SOC-S3 pathway, and the PIP3 pathway in the hypothalamus. Now, we won't go through and do a pop quiz on that, but just understand these are powerful pathways within the hypothalamus that signal and form our behavior. These pathways are essential for leptin to signal the brain that the body has enough energy and can start burning fat. When insulin is high, it effectively, quote unquote, shuts down these pathways, making it nearly impossible for the brain to recognize that you're full or have enough stored energy. Instead, the brain continues to think you're starving, driving both hunger and a decrease in physical activity. This biochemical feedback loop explains why people with higher body fat find it increasingly hard to lose weight. Their body is fighting to maintain that state due to disrupted leptin signaling. The good news is that we can interrupt this cycle. Lowering insulin levels helps restore leptin sensitivity. And the best way to do this is by eliminating refined carbohydrates and sugar. When insulin levels drop, leptin signaling improves, allowing the brain to recognize when the body has enough energy, reducing hunger and increasing the willingness to move. By focusing on reducing insulin and fixing leptin resistance, we can help regain control of appetite and energy, making it much easier to achieve a healthy weight. This approach targets the root cause of the issue, empowering us to work with the body's biochemistry rather than against it. Wow. Okay, so there's much more in that interview, in that, I don't know, couple-hour long discussion between Dr. Robert Lustig and Andrew Huberman. But here you have, a leading endocrinologist with a world-renowned neuroscientist, just discussing some of these biochemical factors that are going on. And this leptin is just one of those powerful chemical messengers, one of those powerful hormones. And I love it that, the good news is that we can impact it. Think about in our HealthPointe program, think about the jumpstart days. Somebody starts their 6-week cycle, does a jumpstart. This is what Dr. Robert Lustig talks about. And I tell you, all roads converge to HealthPointe. As I listen to these scientists and doctors and what they're talking about, we've talked about Dr. Casey Means and so forth. You hear them say that and you go, wow, we've got that in HealthPointe. We've always had that. And so it's really interesting. So to segue on this, and I'll preempt this by saying, I'm going to show you a couple of things about this device, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we're so fortunate that fellow HealthPointe coach, Erica, I asked if she would do an unboxing video. You see these unboxing videos when people purchase a product, they have to assemble a bookshelf or something like that, and you want to understand it more and how to do it yourself. You look for these unboxing videos. And I said, hey, could you do an unboxing video on the Stelo, the CGM? And she said, sure. And she did a fantastic job. So maybe I'll post a link to that, but it is in our YouTube channel, Voices of HealthPointe. And if you just go onto content for coaches, one of the playlists, you'll see that it's usually unboxing videos are less than 10 minutes. I think hers comes in around 9.5 minutes. And it's so great because one of the things with a CGM, and I'll explain this, is, geez, this thing is on the back of your arm and you think, it's got to be, in getting into your body, because it needs to, did something poke you? Does it hurt? And you'll love the segment in that unboxing video where, she doesn't know. I mean, she asked me, does it hurt? And I said, no, but just do the unboxing video and see for yourself. And it's just a really fun expression on her part when she actually activates it and it sticks to her arm. It doesn't hurt. I'll be a spoiler alert on that. But let me just get back to the kind of the big picture. So what we were just talking about is leptin, which is a function of insulin. And in a perfect world, and maybe this will come in time, we would be able to have a continuous glucose meter, but not be a continuous glucose meter, but a continuous insulin reader, because that's really what we're after. And that's what HealthPointe really, really addresses. But currently, even if you go to a doctor, they can do an insulin test, but you kind of have to twist their arm, and they, it's one of those things. But yeah, you can get an insulin test. It's not that expensive, and it's the preferred thing to do because it can take sometimes years of insulin, poor insulin health before it manifests in the form of a poor blood sugar or a poor A1C. So if we really want to get ahead of this, we would like to start measuring insulin versus blood sugar, but blood sugar is great. So how do we measure blood sugar? Some people never know, okay? They have no idea. Other people do an annual exam, and they go in, and one day, 1 minute out of a 365-day year, they have this snapshot where in their blood test, they get a blood draw, and their doctor says what their blood sugar level is, and then perhaps what their A1C level is. But it's this snapshot. Additionally, we can get our own glucose meters, manual glucose meters. You can pick them up in a pharmacy for like 20 bucks. You can get really great ones like Keto Mojo off of Amazon, maybe cost you about 50 bucks. And what do? You poke your finger with the lancet, a little bit of drop of blood, you hit it with the stick, and it'll give you a digital readout of what your blood sugar levels are. And again, it's a snapshot, but at least it's in your control. You don't have to go into a clinic or sit down with a doctor. You just break out your Keto Mojo, lance your finger, take a reading. Maybe in the afternoon, you do it again, whenever you want to, but it is a manual process. What a CGM does, a continuous glucose meter does, is like the name suggests, it continuously monitors your glucose. So instead of it being like a snapshot picture, this moment in time, it's more like a movie. And the reason that's important is because, we live 24/7. We eat, we move, we drink water, we sleep, we have emotions. All of these things can have impact on our blood sugar. And by having this little disc, and what it is, when you open up your box, you actually have two of these. And again, I'll refer you to Erica's unboxing video to get a better sense of this, but this is the device that you're going to put on the back of your arm and pop the button, and it's going to stick that thing right to the back of your arm. And then you just sync your app on your phone you just download the app, the Stelo app, and then you just wand your phone over that CGM on the back of your arm, and it'll pull that data into the app on the phone. And it's this beautiful wave, this readout. When you see Carol do the HealthPointe presentation, she talks about the blood sugar, where you want it and what happens when you eat this way and what happens to the blood sugar. And it shows it in this chart, in this wave. Well, you get that readout on the app on your phone. And so you can see, I had this for lunch, and then in the ensuing minutes and hours, what happened to my blood sugar? Okay, I had a snack. What happened to my blood sugar? I went for a walk, or I didn't go for a walk. I ate and I sat on the couch. What happened to my blood sugar? I ate and I went for a 20-minute walk. What happened to my blood sugar? And I have to tell you, you can become quite obsessive. And I'll just give a call out to Emily, my wife, who I think is on the call. Actually, before this came out a couple of weeks ago, she had actually gotten a prescription-based CGM. And we would kid because I said, put the phone down. And, I felt like I was like talking her down, like, you need to stop reading your blood sugar. We'd wake up in the morning and, I'd want to kiss. Instead, she would, wand her arm for her blood sugar reading. I'm kidding a bit, but it can be you get very fascinated because it's this insight into your own biochemistry. And we've done segments on why blood sugar is so important, and how it, it glycates or cleaves to your blood cells. But just big picture, just in the words of many doctors out there, you hear of Dr. Casey Means and stuff, high blood sugar, dysregulated blood sugar is a major factor in most chronic disease. And so, in fact, I believe I heard her say that 9 out of the 10 leading causes of death, we're talking heart attack, stroke, all these types of things, are driven in large part by insulin resistance, which leads to high blood sugar and dysregulated blood sugar. So it is a really, really big factor. But for the, call it a couple of years that I've been, super focused on HealthPointe, and right out of the gate, since Dr. Casey Means was kind of one of my inspirations to dive deep into HealthPointe, the frustration has been, geez, this is such a powerful tool. Everybody, I say, quote unquote, everybody should have it. And yet it was a barrier to getting one because it's technically labeled as a medical device, and the regulations say you have to have a prescription. Okay, so then you have to go to your doctor and ask for a prescription. And the normal course of things is, well, you don't need one because why? You're not sick, right? You're not a type 2 diabetic. If you're a type 2 diabetic, we'll consider writing you a prescription. So you're like, I want one because I want to not get sick. I want one because I want to monitor this very important, measurement in my body, so that it will inform me and kind of encourage me in some of my choices and habits and stuff like that. And, you had to, if they would do it, great. If they wouldn't, you were stuck. And so it was just a big barrier. And literally just a matter of a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, Dexcom, who is one of the major manufacturers, they've had prescription-based CGMs for years. They got FDA approval for this Stelo. It's spelled with one L, Stelo. The other thing that's great about it is, I think when I got my first prescription-based CGM, it cost me over $200 for, we'll just call it a month's worth of reading. Okay, you get 2 devices in there, and it could be up to a month, maybe a little bit less. It's depending upon how the device reacts in your body. But it would cost me about $200 plus a prescription fee. I want to say I paid around $275 for this monitoring for a month. Again, for me, it's a no-brainer, but it is not insignificant money. This Stelo is only $99, and you can just go on to stelo.com and you can order one, lickety split. It'll come shipped to you, and then you watch Erica's unboxing video to kind of understand how to attach it, and you're good to go. And I'm just so excited for it, for ourselves, for clients, so that's kind of my segment on this, in my opinion, drop the mic moment on the non-prescription CGM that is now, available to anybody and everybody that wants to make that purchase. One other thing too, it does give you 2 devices, and each device will be up to 15 days. And I say up to 15 days because don't set yourself up for failure. This is a medical device that's, dealing with your biochemistry. It's not a, will it go 15 days? It might. Will it only go 12 days and then your app says your sensor has stopped working? It might. So just be ready for that. It's up to 15 days. It might be 13 days. It might be 14. It might be 12. But I tell you, you go 3, 4, 5 days with this thing, and it was inform you so much in just that 3, 4 days. Well, let's just say that it gives you 2 weeks. You don't have to do the next one immediately after that. So maybe you're getting started in HealthPointe. I know for myself, I might have people wear a CGM for a number of days before they start their Monday start, kind of get that blood sugar reading, and then they pop into their start of their 6-week cycle. And now they start seeing the powerful effects on their glucose as a result of HealthPointe. Wow, what insight into your own biology that you would never have had before. But let's say that then they go for a couple of weeks of wearing that, and then it times out. Well, they don't have to put the next one on right away. Maybe they go through that rest of that 6-week cycle. Maybe they go into 2 or 3 more cycles, and then they decide to do the next thing, pop it on their arm and get a fresh, up to 2 weeks of reading like that. So just know that you've got 2 devices. In total, it can be up to 4 weeks, but you don't have to do it back to back. Okay, that's it. That's on my segment. I'll turn it over to anybody, any other topics. We'll continue around the horn here, or any questions or comments on leptin or CGMs.
Hi, Eric. Well, that was very, very good stuff. And I know you were very excited about it when you learned about it at the conference. And we are excited about it too. Now, I'm a network marketer, so I'm just going to bring this right out. I think this is absolutely fabulous for us personally, for reading our blood sugar and creating habits. We started off with habits. Well, when you look at that, okay, what kind of habits do I need to create to keep that blood sugar at a stable level? But then I'm going to take it one step further, and I'm going to tell you an experience. I'm going to try to get out of the sun here so I can stop and talk. But just an experience I had probably beginning of the week sometime, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, doing my power walk, and it happened to be mid-afternoon. And there's another thing. If you can't get out in the morning, or if you're splitting your walk, do some in the afternoon if you're in an area that's warm, because you'll sweat real good, and you'll get rid of a lot of toxins. So that's just a little pointer there. But anyway, so I'm walking down the street, and a young lady comes out with her dog, and I had not met her before. She's about 10 doors down, and I saw for sale sign. So we started talking, and I noticed she had a CGM on her back of her arm. So it started a conversation. This can be a conversation starter, a prospect builder. Whether you're wearing one or the person is wearing one, you can start a conversation about that. Come to find out, this gal will be in the process here, but she is on Wegovy, and many of you know it's a semaglutide, or like Ozempic. More of you are familiar with Ozempic. She's on this, and she lost 100 pounds on it, but she says, I'm just not hungry. It's 1 o'clock and I haven't eaten anything. And she said, I feel my blood sugar getting down. I need to take a look. So her blood sugar is getting all wacko because she's not hungry, because she has been foreignly or chemically starved, so to speak. Her system has shut down, and it might have very well to do with the leptin, but it's just that it doesn't program her as hungry. Well, anyway, we got talking more and more about that. Come to find out, she's in the process of moving. So we exchanged numbers, because I said, I don't know if you're aware of it, but I'm a health coach. And she said, oh yeah, I see you walking all the time. So I assumed you were involved in something like that. And I said, yeah. And in fact, the plan is, if we can take this further, or when we take this further, is to get her on one of our walk and talks. But anyway, so we started talking about the Wegovy and the long-term effects. And now I didn't go on a banned box to tell her that she could die from it and all that kind of stuff, or how addictive it was. But we did talk about the fact that it shuts your system down. Anyway, I'm not going to go into a big dissertation, but I'm just going to say that this can be a great prospecting tool. If you just look for somebody that's wearing one, start a conversation, or you wear one, and it will start a conversation with somebody else. Again, it's a door opener, and you can start talking about health, talking about being a health coach, talking about all of the things the direction you want to go. And they many times will actually open the conversation for you. So we want to look at this as not only, I think it's a great tool, and certainly Hank and I are going to get one. But I also think that this is a great tool for your business too. So I wanted to run that by you. And the other thing, well, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I just saying 100% agree with you. In fact, I was only half kidding with myself when I said I wish that it wasn't something that you put on the back of your arm. I know that this sounds sensational, but I wish you could like staple it to your forehead so that it was always obvious, whether you're in summer short sleeves or winter time, because it is a conversation starter. You can be talking with somebody, wand your phone over your CGM and take a quick look at it. And a lot of people are more familiar with it. And I'll just say one more thing. In one of my classes that I take, one of the gals, she's from the San Diego area, Southern California, and she said, when I go into a coffee shop in the morning, she says, I'm going to say certainly over 50% of the people in that coffee shop have a CGM on them. So this is a real, more and more people are aware of this. And now that Dexcom was able to get this non-prescription, I think it's going to be part of the, kind of talk topics, the lexicon of our, next couple of years, I think, which is exciting. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Eric. I think it becomes a hot item, so to speak, a hot item in our business. We can use this as a tool in our business, not only for us personally, and I think we all need to do that, but just using it as a hot item because other people will see it that way. And I think other young people that are involved in sports nutrition and health and wellness or want to be aware, or the many, 75, 80% of the people that are overweight wearing one. It's just, you're going to have an open market and you're going to become, it's kind of like when you got the red convertible, and then all of a sudden everybody on the street had a red convertible. Well, that's what's going to happen here is you're going to be looking on everybody's arm, or they're going to be seeing yours, or even when you're talking to them, you can even drop CGM, just drop that in the conversation. I work in the health industry and I work with lifestyle and CGMs to help people read their blood sugars and just use it as passing fancy and pick up conversation with that. I want to tell you one other thing, and I don't mean to get off on a business building thing here, but we have health and we need to get it out to people. We need to get this HealthPointe business concept and healthy living concept out to people. And I was at a art show. Hank and I went to a very, very high-end designer center that just opened in our area. And so we said, well, we're going to go and just meet some people and look around at some of the furnishings and see what's, what they're showing now and what have you. Anyway, so we went and talked to a few people, but the two people that we really connected with, one of them was the top artist because it was an art exposition also. And she was the top artist for this company. So we started talking, and the two things that connected us was she's from Italy and Hank's from Malta, but the other thing was health. And man, I'll tell you, we started talking about health. And to make a long story short, to show you how easy it is to connect when you're talking about health, natural health, she gave me a great big hug before we left. Now, I probably talked to this woman 20 minutes, gave me a great big hug before we left. So it goes to show you what a connecting situation we have and how many people we can reach out to help other people, whether you want to build a business or not. I mean, some people that are on this call just want to get healthy themselves. But if you want to get healthy, you probably have a lot of other friends that want to get healthy also. And let's reach out to people. We're in an age now, we're supposed to be reaching out to people in love and help and concern and what have you. Well, we have the perfect tool for that. Then another one was really, really, really sharp gal. Started talking to her, Leslie, and come to find out that she was very interested in health. Got this great conversation going again on health, obesity, the condition of our nation, health-wise. She ends up running the whole what do you call it, design center. She's the head of it. And so I made two great contacts. Business building, maybe not. Referral, maybe not. But definitely health and healthy living, because they're already mentally there. We just have to show them that we have a better way through HealthPointe and through Nutrilite. So just wanted to kind of give a takeoff of you, Eric, and the fabulous information that you just shared with us, and the fabulous tool. Let's look at this from a big picture standpoint also. So
I think that's a super great element to be adding to this topic, because, you know, what's the saying, you know, you can build a better mousetrap, but, you know, it doesn't mean that people are going to beat a path to your door. There is a certain amount of, you know, call it marketing. I just call it awareness. And like you're saying, Carol, you know, sometimes it just comes up in topic, or just in conversation. The health conversation is such a top of mind topic. I mean, if you're talking with somebody and they're already healthy, that's a fun topic. They enjoy talking about it. If you're talking with somebody and you introduce some sort of conversational piece about health and they're not healthy, or they have some concerns, or they're kind of scared, or they're looking for help, they're looking for coaching, you know, they will really likely reach out like your gal did. And, you know, 20 minutes of knowing her and she's giving you a hug. That illustrates how much this means to people. Of course, this is their life, this is their health. And if their health is degrading, if they see that path that they're on, you know, you are like an answer to their prayers when this comes up. And then, of course, we know with people that are in 6-week cycles or have had experiences of significant weight loss, I typically make the mark of around 20 pounds or more. Once you hit that 20 pounds down or more, it really starts to show to people that have known you. It shows in your facial structure and your jawline. And that's where, even if you have heavy clothing on, it's wintertime in Michigan, people will say, wow, you know, you look great. You know, it's usually around that 20-pound mark. So that's wonderful, because that's a natural conversation starter. But now we have this other tool, you know, a CGM, where it's, again, a very visible statement. It's a curiosity, it's a conversational piece. And so it's great for that as well, because again, at the end of the day, you know, you can have a great program. We do with HealthPointe, but it does take some conversations, and those kind of need some, you know, initial starts to that conversation. So this can all help. Great stuff.
You know, it's funny. Years ago, when we had jewelry as one of our lines on our e-commerce area of our business, I used to wear this pin on my lapel. That's when pins were really in. I think they're coming back. I might drag it out again. But anyway, and it was an attention getter, and people would always comment on the pin, and that was a door opener. And I also used to talk about that. You want to meet people, wear something that people comment on, and you'll figure out what it is that you have in your closet that people will constantly comment on, and then wear the bejeebies out of it and start conversations. Well, I can't think of anything better than the CGM, or even the general health topic, that will start a conversation more with people. So it's just amazing. But you got to be in the zone too, you know. I mean,
True.
if you're not in the zone and you're not open to talking to people, then it doesn't do any good either. So
For sure. Dave, did you unmute there?
Just to say, it is a national issue, and Robert Kennedy Jr. is making it a national issue. On whenever he gets a chance to talk, he talks about the health in America.
yeah.
Yes, he does. In fact, you might know this, Dave. He is apparently very connected with Callie Means. That's Dr. Casey Means' brother, who
Yes.
you know, ironically, yeah. So
When I heard him
it's-
talk, I thought of you immediately because he referenced the same people that you referenced. You're in the same circle with Robert Kennedy Jr.
well, thanks for the leap in extrapolation there, Dave. But no, I love that message. I did listen to one of the message by Robert Kennedy, and wow, you know, if we can, you know, start addressing, you know, the nation's health at its root cause, which is, you know, fundamentally, you know, ultra processed food and sugar, and you know, it leads to this insulin resistance and blood sugar issues. Boy, we can really unlock some, I mean, like literally energy, because you know, this, you know, improves the health of what's called the mitochondria in your cells, and that is the energy center of our cells. So literally will uncork some energy.
So one of his sayings is, instead of spending trillions on wars, that we have the ability to make all the food in the grocery stores organic food.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. If we can just reallocate some resources. I think it was him, maybe it was somebody else, that I certainly know Dr. Lustig mentioned this, and I don't know where, you know, and this hopefully is not, you know, political statements. These are concepts. These are health concepts. I don't know where Dr. Robert Lustig is politically, but just from an economic standpoint, he did the math on, there's a bill that would make it these like the Wegovy, the geez, why am I drawing a blank on this?
Semaglutide?
Yes, the semaglutide, available to basically anyone that would qualify for it. So and the numbers on that, at the expense of that, would be GLP-1s. This is what I was trying to say. To make these GLP-1s available, so basically people could get these injections that they inject in their belly, and you know, the government would pay for it. So there's something that's being rolled out to try to make that happen, and it makes a ton of money for the pharmaceutical industry, of course. And just from an economic standpoint, he said if that got passed, the amount of money that would cost the American taxpayer, we could give, I think it was roughly $10,000 a year credit to every single American to buy whole food, right? To buy real food. And so again, and aside from the economic standpoints, he's like, one doesn't solve the root cause, the other does solve the root cause, right? So again, there's some astounding numbers on that, but very, very fascinating stuff. Guys, we are going to wrap it at that. Some of us are actually moving into a meeting after the meeting, more business talk, so we're excited for that. But it's so great to be on. I mean, we loved it last week, learning and being part of the conference and learning so much down in the Atlanta area. Can't wait actually for our winter conference that will be coming up at the end of January in beautiful Southern California. But I did miss our weekly walk and talk, so it's so great to be back on here. So we'll look forward to seeing everyone next week, next Saturday, same time, same place. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody, make it a super Saturday.